Kitty,
Friend.
have you ever walked past a dumpster full of rotten food during the summer?
I unfortunately have done that, yes, and
Yeah.
it makes my stomach turn to think about it.
It's the kind that has a green halo of stink waves buzzing with flies and yellow jackets, and it slaps a grimace across your face.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I wish I didn't, but I do. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Can you imagine if an entire grocery store filled with food was left to rot?
No, that sounds like a biological hazard, an ecological hazard, just gross. It sounds gross. Is ugh.
It's about to get real gross.
Oh no.
Welcome to Wreckage and Ruins. Each week, we investigate disasters man made and natural, legendary last stands, medical mishaps, and everything in between. Each of the ruins unfold into a story, and we're here to understand why it happened and what came after. We're your hosts, Cece and Kitty, and the Mexia supermarket and Seafood City incidents were a biohazard disaster.
Ugh.
I'd like to say off the top that I got a lot of information on Lost Media Wiki, and I'll put the website in the show notes. All the information that I got for this episode today is public information. So a lot of news sites, some Wikipedia stuff. There's a lot of news coverage today. So everything that we discuss is going to contain our personal opinions, and all the information is publicly available. Just want to take that right off the top because it's about to get gross in here.
Yeah, and I have a lot of opinions about gross things.
So, Kitty, Mexia Supermarket opened in Fort Worth, Texas in October of 1997 with an almost $1 million business loan. In the summer of 1999, while a disastrous Woodstock 99 was getting ready to tear up Rome, New York, the owners of Mexia's supermarket were closing up shop after having to file bankruptcy. And
Okay, so they just shut the
yeah, when
doors.
I say closing up shop, I mean they cleared out the cash registers and locked the doors. Now, we'll get into it. But I think some important background info here off the top is that during a business bankruptcy, proceeding for grocery stores, there would normally be a trustee appointed by the court to process the bankruptcy that would take care of cleaning out the inventory, whether that would be doing closeout sales or donations, and they would tie up loose ends with the property. But there were some, to quote Lost Media Wiki, errors during the process. And that's an understatement, Kitty.
So did we just like not get a trustee here? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So there's debate about a lot of this. But to answer your question, no, they never got a trustee. So there's the first big debate is when the electricity was shut off, whether that was one of the last things the former owners did before leaving, or if I almost said shitty, if the city shut it off in late October, but we'll never know. We will never know. What
Okay.
we do know is that the power was shut off for this full grocery store for probably weeks and potentially months. And we do know also that perishable food and the Texas heat do not mix well.
No, and so I'm just you're telling me that this is a completely full grocery store, like the freezers are full, the cold cases are full, all of it.
Yeah, from what we
And it
know,
was just left there.
right? They they cleared out the cash register, they walked out the door, and they locked it behind them. Did they turn off the electricity? We don't know, but then it was just left.
Okay, this is Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm imagining, like, you know how,
Mm.
and maybe this is just something that happens to me, you buy vegetables, right? And then they get, like, stuck in the back of the vegetable drawer and you forget about them. And then
Right.
when you, like, find them again, it's just like a slimy mess.
Yes.
Now just imagine that with, like, a whole grocery store.
Exactly. So,
Ugh.
yeah. So, like I said, they left during the summer, and in October, so October 20th of 1999 is when people living in the area started complaining about the smell.
I can't believe it took that long because, like, okay, they left in the summer and it took till October, but I mean, things go bad in the refrigerator. So, all of that perishable food like zucchini, apples, oranges, bananas, all of that had to be bad already. Like, it already had to have a rat population, a bug population
Right.
if it's summer to October. So, I guess the power went off and now, like, the frozen food is going bad.
Yeah, so thinking about the summer, I feel like it was more likely that they didn't turn off the electricity themselves and that the power company just shut it off after however many months of not paying the bill
Yeah, I mean, that
because
makes sense.
yeah, so I feel like it had to have been closer to yeah, they said, you know, if the city shut it off, it would have been, like, late October, so I feel like it was October because what I think is things had started to go bad in there, and then the electricity got shut off, and then it
Ugh.
just got worse. So, yeah, people were complaining about the smell. Inside the store, there was dairy, raw meat, and frozen food that became thawed after the electricity was shut off, and every type of wet and dry ingredient that you can think about. All of it
I didn't
rot
even think about the dairy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, kitty.
Oh my god, that had to smell so
I
bad, the
know.
dairy.
Yes. And
Ugh.
all of it rotted so quickly, and rotted isn't even the right word for it. The milk exploded, the meat was rancid, and what comes with rotten food are maggots, flies, rodents, and lots of other anything that can get themselves inside is gonna get inside to get a piece of that.
Well, a biological hazard, period.
Exactly, period. So, the food stinks like Satan's butt crack. The bugs and animals are compounding the mess because you don't just get animals, you get all of their like their germs and their poop and all this other stuff is festering in this because it's still going to be hot in October in Fort
Oh,
Worth.
yeah.
So there's mold and slime, and nobody does anything about it until it's so bad that the neighbors can smell it.
Great.
So after the complaints, which the complaints, ranged from headaches while traveling in the area to not being able to turn on air conditioning because it pushed the odor inside the house.
Ugh.
After that, Fort Worth government employees started to investigate. They
Now, sorry, I'm just like, I have personal experience with air conditioners and bad smells.
Oh.
Um, my mother-in-law's dog, Memphis, who we lovingly call Moofus, has an affinity for chasing skunks.
Oh, no.
And he got sprayed by a skunk, like, right by their air handler, and the air handler just sucked that whole skunk smell into the house
Oh,
and just,
no.
like, coated the whole house. So, Memphis didn't even come inside the house, but the whole house just reeked, and we were there, like, cleaning with vinegar and baking soda and, like, airing out the house, and it took too long to get rid of that. So, I can't even imagine living next to a rotting supermarket.
Yeah.
And then it's hot in
Yes.
Texas, so it's
Yep.
like I wanna turn my air conditioning on because it cannot stand to be hot, but I also cannot deal with the smell, and that smell had to, like, permeate. Like, that is gonna be in the
Sounds like it did.
fibers.
Yep. Sounds like
Mm-mm,
it did too.
mm-mm.
So, the people investigating in the Fort Worth government contacted the company that was supposed to be handling the bankruptcy stuff, and they held their hands up, and they said, "Well, the movers are coming on November 2nd." So, that's when they were like, "Ooh, uh-oh, I guess the ball got dropped here."
Movers for what?
Yeah.
What are we
So,
moving?
right. The movers said, "No way. We heard it stinks in there, and we aren't equipped to handle that."
Well, no.
Right.
Y
I don't blame them. I
there
would've
is
said,
not
"No.
enough money.
No, there's really not." So Fort Worth looked back to the first company that is handling, like, the closeout, and they said, "Well, this isn't actually our problem anyway. We asked the court to foreclose on it anyway." Um, I didn't know that said "anyway" so many times, but it just kind of was like the government was looking at everybody being like, "What are you guys doing? Like, somebody figure this out," and everyone's like, "This isn't my problem." So,
It's somebody's problem.
it is somebody's problem. It was somebody's problem, and somebody had to clean it up because literally burning it to the ground, I guess, would have released innumerable rats into the streets. So,
Oh, I
for
didn't think about that because that was my thing, is, like, burn it down.
just yeah, burn it to the ground. So, Fort Worth's health department stepped in and declared the area biohazardous, and they got down to business. There's a lot of risks with rotten food, especially of this magnitude. So, w we unknowingly encounter a lot of molds, apparently, just in everyday life, but
Mhm.
accidental ingestion, inhalation, and skin exposures would have been the biggest risk for humans here. They could potentially cause lung issues, digestive problems, rashes, and allergic reactions. So, this was just one big rotten landmine.
Sounds like my own personal hell. I'm allergic to fall. I love fall, but I'm allergic to fall because, like, first of all, I'm allergic to everything, but the mold that grows on leaves when they're, like, dying and they're in, like, the pile, that, like, spotty black mold you see on leaves,
Yeah.
I'm super allergic to that,
Oh, no.
and, I'm allergic to a bunch of other kinds of mold, including penicillin.
Of course.
So, this sounds like something that would just absolutely take me out, like, I'd be
I think it
down.
would. Oh, I feel so bad for the people who had to clean this.
Uh, Bless the hazmat people, the people who go in and clean up these messes, bless them because I
Bless
do not
them.
have the stomach for it, I could not do it.
And
It
somebody's
gives
gotta do
me
it.
the heebie-jeebies thinking about doing it.
I know.
No.
So, the first step was releasing, like, atomic grade pesticides into the store to kill off as many bugs, pests, and their diseases as possible. Once the full bodysuit and respirator clad workers got inside, it apparently only took a couple of days to clear the bulk of the waste out, and then another few days for them to clear out the machinery. So these guys were, from what I read, normally, if you're cleaning up a biohazard and you're wearing a hazmat suit, it kind of is its own whole thing. But these guys were having to like, or people, I'm sorry, were like duct taping everything closed. Like there was zero, um, what is it, like margin for error here.
Yeah, I don't want any of that on me.
And it gets hot. Those
Yeah.
suits are hot. And apparently the respirators did clear out a lot of the smell, but not all of the smell, which is
No, and
dangerous
then
as
once a
hell.
stink gets in your respirator.
I have a terrible, terrible fear of getting bad smells in my mouth, which is
Yes, I know,
I
we
don't
we
know.
covered that with me asthma.
Yeah. So, I don't know if it's my OCD or whatever, but I can't imagine just having to breathe through my nose through that whole thing. That sounds like such an actual nightmare.
Mm-mm.
So One of the local newspapers there in Fort Worth, Texas, was and still is called the Star Telegram, and I got to read a few of their newspaper articles about the whole debacle. In an article written by Kathy Sanders for the Star Telegram on a date I couldn't access, it says that they were going to sanitize the building after clearing it out.
Okay.
Sanitize the building after clearing it out. So we'll sit on that, but
Did it
oh,
turn into, like, another supermarket or,
we'll
like, what
see.
did
I'm gonna leave you in suspense over that, kitty. It
it's just giving
also
me, like, the Carnival Poop Cruise vibe, like,
oh,
well,
it
it's a
is.
cruise ship, so we cleaned it and we sanitized it, and now it sails out of Miami.
Yep,
So,
I think you've got
like
the right idea, kitty.
oh, no, 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 no.
It also said, this article, that local residents were not only upset about the smell, but they wanted to know who was picking up the roughly $10,000 ticket. Although Lost Media Wiki that I, referred to at the beginning says that other newspapers put the estimate at 10 to 15 in 1999, which in
That's
2025 money is about 20 to $38,000 range. But some sources said that it could have been upward of $100,000 all said and done. I don't know,
r
but that's a huge range, and I feel like no matter what the number is, it kind of adds up.
it definitely adds up, and so I guess the taxpayers got stuck with this bill?
That's right. No one was ever really held accountable for it. It was just chalked up to, like, a terrible misunderstanding on everybody's part. When I read that the one transitional company was supposed to take care of it, but one never got appointed, I don't think this was necessarily the fault of the former owners, because originally I thought, when I first heard about this case, I thought, "Oh my god, these people just locked the doors and shut the electricity off and never." There are rumors that they, like, maybe fled the country. I don't know that that's true. It kinda sounds like they were as horrified as everybody else was because they assumed that, it was gonna get taken care of. So I think that's probably the case. Um
Well, I mean, you made it sound like their part of it was done, that they had
Yes.
declared bankruptcy and that it was in the hands of someone else and that the other people were gonna be doing the cleaning out and the clearing out and doing all of the moving and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
So
that's just one thing I wanted to say was that that is how I started writing this episode, was thinking that, and then I was like, "Wait, no, that can't be right." So, when you listen to videos or see videos about this, that is commonly what people say, but I just wanna say I don't think that's the truth or that's the case. Um, I don't think they have any good motive for turning off the electricity. Um
no, and I mean, why would they wait so long to turn off the electricity? They weren't involved anymore,
Right.
and I don't that's a lot of produce and things to leave to waste. You'd have to be a pretty bad person, I think, to let that stuff rot and not donate it to people in need in the community that you were serving. And I don't know, I don't get that vibe. I feel like nobody intentionally left all of this to rot,
It was just a
but at the same
terrible,
time,
terrible.
somebody has to be responsible for it.
Technically, yeah. So, somebody in the process of getting this assigned to a company to figure out the bankruptcy is probably what I'm thinking is where it fell through the cracks, but, um, I think I said this earlier, but I think the power company just turned off the electricity when the bills weren't being paid, and like I said, we're never gonna know. And here's the kicker, kitty. After it was cleaned out, another grocery store moved in.
I knew you were gonna say that, and oh my god, I can't.
According to the Lost Media Wiki page, someone in 2012 wrote a review complaining about the bad dead smell, and that was like 14 years later. Now, can we trust that? I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, I can't for my life imagine why they didn't level it and just start fresh. I feel
Yeah,
like
well, I mean, it's like I said earlier, I know it would have released rats if we burned it down and probably chemicals and other things that we don't wanna release into the environment, but, um, like, I think I would have burned it down. That's me. Granted, I feel that way about spiders in the house, like, set it on fire, burn it
Just
down.
it's not worth it, just get rid of it.
No, mm-mm,
I
no.
can tell you though, Kitty, that I personally could never buy food from a building that I knew had been that rotten, no matter how well somebody said it had been cleaned.
Yeah, absolutely not, no. Mm-mm.
So the next grocery store also moved out, and then they put in a Dollar General that's now closed. But the building still stands, and you can check out the reviews from the closed dollar store if you need a chuckle. Um,
Okay.
but and you know what's crazy is I should have looked at this before we recorded, but I feel like it's a almost like a duplex type deal. I think there's another building attached to it.
Is the next place that we're going, like, a metropolitan area, or is this, like, a holler Dollar General?
Um, you mean the next one that they built in there?
Yeah.
It was a name brand DG.
Oh, well, no, I'm like, so we have name brand Dollar General here, but, there's, like, levels of niceness to Dollar General.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this was a Gucci Dollar General. I think it was more, you know,
Are we in a rural area or a metropolitan
we're
area?
metropolitan or more metropolitan, in my opinion. It is not
Okay, so
rural.
then it's definitely not a holler dollar.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know what you would call it. I would say, we would call it Gucci, like those really there's, like, Gucci Walmarts. I love a Gucci
Hmm.
Walmart because there's a
We
huge
have
difference
Gucci
between
Kroger here.
okay, so you
So
get
there's,
it,
like, regular Kroger, and then there's Gucci Kroger.
right. This was not, I think, a Gucci DG, so, yeah. So that horrified me, and, the worst part, Kitty, is it happened again.
No. How could this happen again?
This episode is brought to you by Executive Law Partners, PLLC, in Fairfax, Virginia. XLP focuses on business litigation, corporate transactions, government contracts, estate law, personal injury, and wrongful death. When things go sideways, you want a legal team that knows how to steady the ship. XLP is here to help. Seasoned attorneys with real world experience can walk you through your options to get the relief you need. For more information, please visit their website at xlppllc.com or find the link on the Wreckage and Ruins website sponsor page. And make sure to tell them we sent you. Kitty, what's bat crap bananas to me is that Mexia was not the only time this has happened in recent years. A supermarket chain that still exists today is called Seafood City, and it is described on its website as a North American Filipino grocery chain. They had a location in University City, Missouri that was shut down in March of 2023 by the St. Louis County Health Department. I read an article about this on the St. Louis Business Journal online by Justina Coronel, published on September 26th, 2023, which I'll link that in the show notes as well. Coronel's article says it was shut down for, quote, some products were improperly stored and it operated without a health permit, end quote.
Oh, lovely. So we're just
Writing dirty, I guess. This wasn't the first issue the University City, Missouri Seafood City had encountered, though. They had apparently been in a legal battle with the property owner that began in 2022, according to a news article by KSDK5 on your side because of unpaid rent, allegedly.
hmm.
I do want to mention though, it sounds like seafood cities are como se dice, franchised.
Yeah, franchise sounds right. So it's like you have the name, but it's individually owned. It's not like all owned by Seafood City.
Yeah, so this wasn't a seafood city thing. I never when I was researching, I didn't hear of any other trouble with Seafood City, and it seems to be a very upstanding grocery chain, so I don't want this to seem like it's reflecting on Seafood City. I think this was just, like, a specific management problem probably,
Oh,
from
well, I
what it
mean,
sounds
it's
like.
kind of like we had a Taco Bell here in our area, and, like, Taco Bells are franchised like McDonald's are franchised, and
Mhm.
so what happens at a single Taco Bell is not reflective of the whole chain of Taco Bell,
Right.
and it got shut down because of, like, some very shady non it was it was health violations, it was
Ah,
definitely health code violations.
yeah.
And so,
So
like, it sounds like it's the same situation.
it
Like,
does. So I
yeah,
just
it's
wanted to
got the Seafood City name, but not it
exactly.
wasn't Seafood City.
If there was a Seafood City, I would probably think about shopping there. So that if that tells you anything, um, so I just wanted to say that off the top. But so as of the reporting by Coronel in that article I mentioned before, in late September of 2023, the store was not cleaned out. That would make about 6 months of rot because it was shut down
Oh,
in
and it's rotten
March.
seafood?
Rotten seafood. And it's definitely clean now, but I can't imagine being tied up by legal issues to the point where your grocery store's food rots. And Seafood City being abandoned was not more heinous than Mexia supermarkets, from what I can tell, but definitely made it so much worse by the nature of the seafood specific thing, like you mentioned. Apparently, thousands of pounds of rotting seafood created an overwhelming ammonia smell or
Yeah.
ammonia that was floating around the area, and the smell was getting into people's houses. Seafood City became infested with insects, was sludgy, and leaked hazardous air. I just realized I should have put some kind of a trigger warning at the top. This is so gross.
You said sludgy, and that sent me over the edge.
Oh gosh, isn't that
I
bad?
had to choke back a gag there.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
I cannot do it. Like,
Nope.
we've talked about it before, we eat seafood at this house, we
Mhm.
love our seafood at this house, and when we eat seafood here, we take the bag out the night we eat seafood. Like, we do not
Right.
want the seafood smell in the house for the next morning. So I absolutely cannot imagine weeks.
No. And Kitty, this is a fun time to mention this. Um, my, uh my aunts, Shayna and Anne Marie, live in the Northeast. I almost triangulated them. I mentioned Shayna because, she met someone or she knows someone who was related to someone who was in the Hartford Circus fire that we covered a week or 2 ago as this releases. Um, and Anne Marie is from an Italian family, so her parents are from Italy, they're Italian, and she texted me after she listened to our, Italian Hall episode where we talked about 7 fishes to tell me that they keep their eels in the bathtub.
They do?
Yeah.
No, I have never met anybody else that keeps their eels in the bathtub.
So
Ugh.
yeah, I couldn't wait to tell you. I almost forgot. So, I know this is a bad time to mention it with the Seafood City, but, if she's made it this far, which I hope she has, I just wanted to shout out, Anne Marie. They've been super, super supportive of us, and, yeah, couldn't wait to tell you about the bathtub eels.
Alright. Well, I know I had a visceral reaction to that, but, good for you. I have never met anybody other than my great-grandmother who kept their eels in the bathtub, so, uh, I feel connected to you
Yes,
now, Anne
I
Marie.
loved it. I loved it so much, I couldn't wait to tell you. Oh boy, okay, let's get back to the horror, Kitty.
Okay,
Yeah, I took us off course there.
I'm not ready, but okay. Let's do it.
In an article written by Mercedes McKay for KSDK5 on your side on October 17th, 2023, about a month after the Coronel article. Apparently, the city had to step in here, just like in Fort Worth. According to the article,
Mm.
this cleanup took about a month, and some residents even ended up suffering from gnats and flies getting into their house because of the extent of the hazard, which that's a whole
Ugh.
other level than that's beyond stink. Because I feel like there had to have been stink as well. So you have stink and gnats and flies and everything.
No,
Eventually,
no,
the
thank
store
you.
did get cleaned up, but interestingly, it isn't something I saw covered in any of the news articles. But there are a lot of YouTube videos about this specific case, I think, because it's so recent, and in this case, the owner of Seafood City paid for the cleanup instead of the local taxpayers, so there's that at least, I guess,
Yeah.
and, you know, ev people have business trouble, sometimes that happens, and it could have been that their hands were just tied and that they couldn't do anything about it. So, to their benefit, that could have been the case. I don't wanna just kinda blanketly say that they were just very, uh,
Irresponsible.
irresponsible. I don't want it to come off like that. I do believe sincerely that there's a lot of different ways that things can happen, but and they paid for it to be cleaned up. So
Well, good on them for paying for it to be cleaned up.
right.
I can't. Ugh.
Yeah, and an article written by Kelly Hoskins for Fox 2 Now in St. Louis says that it cost $7,000 a day to clean up and obviously required hazmat material or hazmat standard cleaning gear. And something I found a little horrifying that I read in Coronel's article was that the city ended up having to post police officers. Oh my gosh, I don't even wanna read this, Kitty.
Is it that
My
bad?
Okay. The city ended up having to post police officers outside of the store because even after the rot, the smell, and the bugs, people were still trying to salvage food from the dumpsters.
No!
Yeah,
No!
my armpits hurt. I hate that so bad. God,
What? No!
yes. Police officers. Yeah. So, you know, I'm having a bad day today, but I've never had to jump into a dumpster to get rotten food.
Like,
So
okay, some people are in unfortunate circumstances where they do have to get food in unconventional ways.
yes.
And I understand that. But you know that some of the people that were here were just like, well, it's free seafood.
Right,
It wasn't because they needed the food. It was
exactly.
because it's like, well, it's free.
I 100% believe that was the case. And
Oh.
I looked up their location on the map, which showed the building still standing. So just like Nexia, they cleaned it out. And there are still, as far as when they were taking these pictures, there were carts in a corral outside the front door, but there was no more signage on the outside of the building. And it's on the right half of a building that is shared with a restaurant.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine trying to eat in that restaurant?
No, I feel terrible for those restaurant owners.
Yes.
And
Like,
that it looks like that restaurant has also permanently closed in the last few years, and I wish I could ask them how they felt about the Seafood City mess. And it's interesting because it looked like a beloved restaurant, so they could have things happen, people fall on hard times, but it was a beloved restaurant from what I read.
ugh, I hate that for them.
Kitty, what if I told you there is yet another famous rotten supermarket?
How?
I know. So, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or CBC, posted an article on their website on July 21st, 2022, written by Casey Stranges, written or titled Workers in hazmat suits haul 8 tons of TONNES of spoiled meat from North Bay, Ontario butcher shop.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So this case was a big mess all around. Apparently, the Canadian butcher shop closed in 2021 because they were having financial issues. But unlike Mexia, where someone was supposed to handle closing out the business, it sounds like this business just shuttered, but they locked the doors and walked away. If
I
the
don't understand
owners
how that happens.
I know, if the owners of this company, listen to our podcast and would like to have a conversation with us about this, I would love that. So as far as I know, they just walked away. So, um, yeah, DM me on any platform you choose, and, we can clear things up. Like
Yes, please explain.
please, I do believe that things happen and some things are out of your control. So, um, I'm not damning them by any means, but I am still it made my armpits hurt to hear about this. So, anyways, according to the article I mentioned, they locked their doors in October of 2021, and eventually the electricity was shut off. And within a few weeks, the store started to stink, and people noted that animal and insect activity was happening in and around the store. People were complaining about it because, like Mexia and Seafood City, it started to infiltrate people's homes and apparently a nearby auto body shop. But apparently, the city was having trouble getting access to the building because it was still a private business. And where they are in Canada, they can't. I read this. So this is what I understand was that they can't intervene unless there's a structural issue with the building. It said there needed to be a, quote, "building code violation," which leads me to believe that they're strict about being able to access the actual building as the government, like an outside entity, but
I don't
for their
understand that. That's like a public health hazard. I don't understand how.
I agree. So it seems like it's more about the structural side versus what's going on inside the building, which yeah, the the issue lingered, Kitty, until July of 2022. It
That
was 9 months. A whole baby could have been made from scratch in the amount of time it took to clean up this butcher shop.
no. Mm-mm.
I'm not sure what the tipping point was, but I know the city finally hired a contractor to clean the mess up. It also required full hazmat treatment for the crew working, which allegedly is miserable in its own right. We talked about that because you get hot and it can stink in there.
I don't understand, like, why would we just close the doors to the business and not, like, donate the food or do something with the food? Why would we leave it?
Right, because obviously I got all of my information from articles and things like news articles. It sounded like they were, if you were having financial problems, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you would just walk away. So, if they would like to clear that up with us, DM me. It also made me think of being in full PPE and how miserable it can get, and it's not even hazmat, and I've never even worn a respirator or was taped into my PPE.
There have been some times I felt like I needed to be taped into my PPE.
Yeah, same.
Definitely been some times I've double gloved,
Oh, yeah.
but, no, fortunately, where I am now, the prep area has its own, like, air handler unit,
Mhm.
so you can control the temperature in there, and when you do have to put on extra layers, you can, like, turn that room into an ice box, which is what you
Oh,
need when you're in full PPE.
yes.
'Cause I know where we worked together, we did not have that option, and we definitely got hot back there more
Oh,
than
you would
once.
suffer, and that's
And
just
then
in, like,
also
a
because it had that door to the back, like, it was hot in the summer and cold in the winter.
it was never a
Like,
good
no,
medium,
never,
ever.
never a good temperature back there.
Gosh, that's terrible. So, yeah, that brought that all back for me. The company also hired a pest control company because of the innumerable flies and maggots. There were also barrels of rotting meat out back that had to obviously be cleaned up, and that's one of the worst ones, that there was stuff outside. And
I cannot do maggots. I
no,
cannot do maggots.
disco rice.
Yes, disco rice, and I just ugh. The smell of them.
Oh,
Not even just the visual, the smell of maggots. Maggots have their own smell, and I just can't.
if you're listening and you've made it this far into the episode, drop
We
me a
commend
line
you.
somewhere if you wanna shout out because I will shout you out. There ended up being 8 metric tons, so that's TONNES versus an American TON
The
of
short
waste.
ton,
Yes. Uh, 8 metric tons of waste hauled out of there, which is almost 18,000 pounds. Allegedly, the company that owns the store was billed for the cost, but I don't know what they paid. So, yeah, this was an interesting one. You can find a lot of information about all 3 of these cases. It is super public. I actually was reading some legal documents about Seafood City, that are publicly available. So, just to finish that one up, there's gonna be a lot of sources in the show notes, but I always recommend people to look into it themselves if they're interested because this really was just kind of the tip of the iceberg with all of this. There's probably a lot more details. And I've definitely accidentally left food containers in my car because I have an ADHD object permanence issue, and I get so scared opening them up to clean them out. So, I cannot imagine months worth of decaying food and animal messes contained in a building that is simply cleaned out and turned over to new tenants. And I couldn't believe that there were 3 big enough cases to report.
that's so gross and scary and, well, I have definitely never left food in my car. Mr. Kitty does have an issue with ADHD and object permanence, and so I have found ecosystems in his car. Uh, so I can't even fathom an entire grocery store.
No, no.
Ugh.
So, yeah, thanks everyone. If you've gotten this far, I have decided that these episodes are called Grossies, and I'm gonna have another Grossie for you in a couple weeks. That's gonna be even better. Um, so thanks for hanging in there with
Better?
me.
Better by, like, less gross better, or
No,
better because it's,
better because it's more
more
gross.
robust?
It
Oh
is more
gosh.
robust. It is thick with gross. Thank you, Kitty. This was a gross one.
Yes, thank you for sharing it with me, I hated it.
Thanks, I hated it. We'll be back with a grossie in a couple weeks and then probably no grossies for a while. So enjoy them while you can.
I'm sure we'll have more gross things to talk about down the line.
Oh, yeah.
But, yep, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. It was really real well done and, too well done because I hated it. Um, but thank you for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for coming back and listening, and, I guess we'll see everybody in the aftermath next week.
Until
So,
then,
until then.
if you like our show, please rate, review, and subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and check out our Patreon for bonus episodes and special content. You can also find us on Instagram. To submit your own disaster stories for listener episodes or to suggest or request a topic, please visit our website at www.wreckageandruins.com. Wreckage and Ruins is researched, written, reported, and edited by us, Cece and Kitty, with music by Tearing Down the Circus. And the show is produced by Wood and Wreckage, LLC. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week in the aftermath.